Raindrops pattered softly against the chapel's stained glass windows, gentle as a whisper. I stood beside a tiny white coffin, so small it seemed like a cradle woven from grief. My legs shook, but I held myself upright. In my hands, I clutched my daughter's stuffed rabbit, still carrying the scent of chamomile and salt from my tears. I scanned the sea of rigid faces, their sympathy a thin mask. My daughter, Leela, had lived for 6 months, 6 months of sterile hospital wards, tender songs hummed beside beeping monitors, and hope teetering on the brink of despair. Now she was gone. My husband, Noah, gripped my hand tightly. His trembling matched mine. But my parents? My mother's eyes stayed dry. She sat next to my sister, Marina, dressed as if attending a charity ball rather than a burial, murmuring with a faint smirk. During the hymn, my mother leaned close, her breath warm against my cheek. "At least now you can focus on Marina again. She needs you." The words didn't sink in immediately. My eyes stayed fixed, my lips sealed. Time froze. I turned to her slowly. She offered a gentle smile as if her words were a kindness. To her, my loss was a weight lifted. Noah's grip tightened, sensing the shift, but I stayed still. In that moment, I chose silence, not surrender, but strategy. Back at the house, mourners circled the catered platters like scavengers. My mother was already planning Marina's engagement party, fretting over whether the ring would shine enough for social media. My father nodded, sipping whiskey as if the day hadn't cradled a funeral. I drifted through the room, invisible. No one met my gaze, not even Marina, who giggled with her friends, tossing her sleek auburn hair like the queen she'd always been. The next day, my mother called, not to console me, but to ask if I'd clear out Leela's room since Marina needed a space for wedding planning. I sat in the empty nursery, holding a tiny mitten. The mobile above twirled lazily, and I smiled. Not warmly, not mournfully, but with resolve. If they expected me to fade into sorrow, to surrender everything to Marina as I always had, they were about to discover what it meant to lose something cherished. My revenge wouldn't be loud. It would be sharp, intimate, and enduring. That night I didn't sleep. I lay in Leela's room, the faint glow of her star-shaped nightlight casting shadows across the walls. My heart felt carved out with a blunt knife, yet beneath the agony something stirred. A quiet fury, not the kind that screams or shatters glass, but the kind that plots, that bides its time. Memories shifted into focus. I recalled my pregnancy, how my mother scowled when I vowed to keep the baby. "It's bad timing," she hissed. "You'll overshadow Marina's law school path with this mess." I'd been 6 months pregnant, coughing up blood. Marina had flunked her first semester, yet they clung to her imagined brilliance. It was never about reality. It was about appearances. When Leela arrived early, frail, and tiny, my mother never visited the NICU. She claimed hospitals gave her panic attacks. My father said, "Babies don't know who shows up." They sent a generic card, unsigned. Meanwhile, Marina got a luxury SUV for getting through her breakup, parked beside the rusty hatchback I'd scraped together to buy. Now they wanted Leela's nursery for Marina's wedding prep. I stared at her crib and decided I'd become the tempest they never thought I could unleash. Noah tried to calm me. "They're just clueless," he murmured. "You don't need to prove anything." But this wasn't about proof. It was about making truth hurt. I started small, with a gesture. I printed a photo of my mother and Marina at the engagement venue, dripping in diamonds while I cradled Leela's ashes. I sent it anonymously to the local paper's gossip section. They thrived on scandal. It appeared on page 5, headlined, "Engagement Glam Amid Sister's Grief, Family Snapshot Ignites Outrage." The cracks began to form. Marina called, shrieking, "What have you done?" I replied coolly, "Don't worry, I'm sure everyone will see you're the star." My mother texted, sharp and indirect, "Not everything revolves around you, Elise. Stop being theatrical." Theatrical, her go-to jab. She'd called me theatrical when I wept after Marina shared Leela's medical chart online for advocacy likes. She'd called me theatrical when I blocked Marina's fiancé from photographing Leela's funeral for his portfolio. But now, I wasn't weeping, I was acting. Revenge doesn't need shouting, it needs precision, and I had endless time. Next, I targeted the business. My father's law firm, Fairchild & Daughters, was the family pride. The irony? I was the only daughter with a law degree, yet Marina, who couldn't pass a practice test, was always showcased to clients. So I gathered every email, every financial misstep, every dismissive slight I'd quietly recorded. I didn't go to the tabloids. I went to the ethics board. Within weeks, the firm faced scrutiny. My father called, voice frayed. "You're tearing us apart for what? A grudge?" "No," I said quietly. "I'm just telling the truth." He roared. I hung up. That weekend, Marina's bridal shower was set at a lavish estate. I arrived unannounced, wearing Leela's favorite violet shawl. My mother's face tightened when she saw me. "This isn't right," she snapped. "You're correct," I said evenly. "Neither was what you said at Leela's funeral." The room went quiet. I didn't linger. I handed Marina an envelope and left. Inside, a formal notice from the venue. Their deposit was voided due to public concerns. Bad publicity spooks vendors. Marina texted that night. "You're twisted." I stared at her message. She never mentioned Leela, not once. The next day, my mother appeared at my door uninvited. Her eyes were red, mascara streaked. "Why are you doing this?" she sobbed. "You said at my daughter's funeral she didn't matter, and now you want mercy. She was dragging you down, Elise. You needed relief." "She wasn't a burden," I said, teeth gritted. "She was my joy." "And you snuffed it out." My mother crumpled on the porch. "People are talking. I've lost connections." "You didn't lose a daughter," I said, standing. "So you haven't lost anything yet." I walked inside. Noah was in the kitchen, holding the memory book I never finished for Leela. "I think Leela would be proud," he whispered. "No," I said. "Leela deserved protection. That's what I'm doing now." The morning of Marina's wedding, it poured, not the poetic drizzle of movies, but a relentless storm with thunder that rattled bones and lightning that tore the sky. Her dream garden ceremony with its string quartet and butterfly release unraveled by the minute. I watched from a hotel window across the street. Noah stood behind me, quiet. He didn't ask if I'd orchestrated it. He didn't need to. I hadn't conjured the storm, but I wasn't halting it either. By midday, guests were shuffled into a ballroom where the silver chairs hadn't arrived. Vendors were delayed, the caterer had overbooked, and the band canceled with food poisoning. One bridesmaid bilayed with a migraine. Marina was unraveling, yelling at staff, cursing into her phone. Then the final strike. My father's firm, already under investigation, lost its biggest client. The news hit LinkedIn and the local press. My mother read it during her makeup session and collapsed in the salon chair. I knew it all, not from rumors, but from my ally, the assistant planner, a woman named Tara who'd also lost a child. When she learned how Marina and my parents treated me, she became my confidant. We didn't trade money, just truths. Women who have been silenced know how to make each other heard. Tara whispered that Marina was hyperventilating in her gown, that the groom's family was rethinking the wedding, that guests murmured about me. "Is she here?" they asked. "No," someone would reply. "She wouldn't come after what they did." But I did come. I didn't slip in. I walked through the main entrance in a black dress, not for grief, but for reckoning. The room froze. Marina saw me first, her mouth gaping, silent. My mother stood, face ashen. "What are you doing here?" "Don't worry," I said smoothly. "I'm not staying, I just brought a gift." I placed a small velvet box on the family gift table. "Open it after the ceremony," I said. "Call it a keepsake." My father looked ready to drag me out, but he stayed still. He knew reporters might be lurking. Actions had weight now. I left without another word. The box would speak for me. Inside, Leela's birth record, a letter I wrote for her first birthday, still sealed, and a delicate silver bracelet with a star charm, her favorite. Attached was a note. "You could have cherished her. You chose not to. Now she stands with me and shame stands with you." They opened it during the toasts. Tara told me my mother fled to the bathroom, retching. My father smashed a flute. Marina collapsed and no one caught her this time. I didn't need to witness it. I was already driving away. I didn't crave lawsuits or apologies. I wanted their silence, not mine, theirs. I wanted them to choke on the echoes of their words, the whispers they thought grief would make me too weak to hear. They were wrong. 3 months later, the firm closed. My father's name vanished from the bar registry. My mother was snubbed by her social circle. Marina postponed her honeymoon for self-care, but was later spotted listing her wedding gown online. And me, I took Leela's ashes and buried them under a pear tree on a quiet ridge near our home. Noah and I visited weekly. We didn't say much. We didn't need to. One day, I left a photo of Leela in her tiny yellow dress. A neighborhood girl saw it and asked, "Who's that?" I smiled. "She's why I found my strength." The girl nodded as if she grasped it. Maybe she did. Grief is heavy, but truth, when it speaks, is lightning. And karma doesn't roar. It whispers at a funeral, strides into a wedding, and leaves silence in its wake.